colleagues, we are going to start our working day. The floor is given to the Speaker of the Ministry of Defense Ukraine, Viktoria Kushnir, and then we'll have a Skype connection with her, with the Speaker of ATO, Dmytro Gutsulyak. Good morning, dear participants in our briefing. I'm happy to see you here. Minister of Defense Colonel General Stepan Poltorak had a meeting with the extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of Japan to Ukraine, Shigeki Sumi. They discussed the situation in the east of Ukraine and the prospects for further cooperation between the two countries. As Ambassador Shigeki Sumi said, today Japan allocates $5 billion for the medical assistance to Ukraine. Part of this money is going to be used for the medical support of our medical institutions and hospitals, military hospitals. Deputy Minister of Defense Yuri Gusev went on a working visit to the Republic of Croatia. He discussed with the Croatian colleagues the prospects for bilateral cooperation in the sphere of food support of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and introduction of electronic trades in the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, and participation of Croatian companies in tenders for the supply of the different material and equipment to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Today, Yuri Gusev is working visit to the region of Kosovo, where he is going to get acquainted with practical experience of logistics support of NATO subdivisions in K4 unit. On the instruction Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Stepan Poltorak, in the Defense Department, they take care of the inspection of legitimacy of transfer of the real estate facilities of the military equipment and property to the third persons. In this region, according to the ruling of the court, the Minister of Defense of Ukraine was returned the land plot on the Rutinsk range with a total area of over 1.3 thousand hectares. Also, the court ruling on return to the Minister of Defense the sports club with a total area of 27,000 square meters of Ukraine. And this was also returned to the Minister of Defense. But the resolution of the higher economic court of Ukraine, one of the ruling of the decision, one of the district state administration of this region on providing the short-term rent of the plot of land with total area of 180 hectares was deemed illegal. Also, they continue to work to return to the Ministry of Defense one more land section with a total area of 100 hectares in this region. Also, 14 hunting areas in the Precarpathian, etc. Today in Kiev, the management of the Ministry of Defense and the general staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the defense and companies enterprises will participate in the exhibition of different models of aviation technology on the territory of the state enterprise plant 410. At 1300 today, they will have held a press conference for the mass media. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine continues its work to provide a comprehensive support of the military units and subdivisions of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which participate in the ATO operation. The Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopted the law of Ukraine on introducing amendments to some of the laws of Ukraine regarding further perfection of the procedure of the supplies of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. This document was prepared in the Ministry of Defense. This regulatory act makes provision for the improvement of the supplies of the military service of the servicemen of the Armed Forces of Ukraine unification of the uniform, etc., etc., and bringing this kind of support to the modern requirements, taking into consideration the best world practice, in particular the member states of NATO. Now this law of Ukraine has been submitted to the President of Ukraine for his consideration and signing. By the end of August 2015, it is planned to complete the establishment of a new structural subdivision in the Ministry of Defense, the Center of Development, and follow-up of the, let's say, the material support of the armed forces of Ukraine. The center will take care of the development of necessary items to provide the servicemen all the necessary things. Now the volunteers and experts of the working group on the issues of further perfection of system material support under the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine have developed a new target-oriented operational model for optimization of the system of the material support of Armed Forces of Ukraine. All the deliberations of this working group will be promptly introduced into the system of supporting the Ukrainian army. In particular, Minister of Defense of Ukraine already approved the list of the necessary items of the single combat set for the servicemen. They adopted technical conditions for 22 items of the different uniform components and the protection ballistic mask goggles. In addition, over the last months, the experts of the working group, together with the Central Directorate of Metrology and Standardization of Armaments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, actually coordinated and approved for use in the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine the first 5 agreements on standardization in NATO, the so-called STENAC standards. The performances of new ballistic goggles and universal summer camouflage uniforms Varan for Ukrainian servicemen absolutely meet the standards of the leading armies of the world. Provision is made by the end of 2016 that new mode of material support will cover and other direction of the resource support. This week, the Armed Forces of Ukraine received 22,370 field uniforms, 5,000 pairs of high boots, 4.4 warm vests, etc., etc. Also, this month they plan to start procurement of 6,300 tons of the diesel fuel and 150 tons of the lubricants for the armed vehicles, according to the negotiation procedure, to use the electronic auctions and trading. The committees of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and the Armed Forces of Ukraine dealing with the issues of giving the citizens the status of participants of the combat actions. During this week, they provided this status to 304 servicemen and the employees of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, participants of ATO operation. Thus, today, this status has been given to 61 plus almost 62,000 servicemen and employees of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Commission is considering the Commission on the status of the participants of combat actions of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Also considers several hundreds of sets of documents to award this status to other people. In 2015, for procurement of new models of the military samples and the material, the provision is made for allocation of 5,242 million hryvnia. Today, according to the State Defense order for this year. They procured and delivered 293 units of the motor vehicles, 4 modernized aircraft and helicopters, 5 drones, 130 means of engineering armaments, 187 topographic and geodetic navigation equipment pieces, and 425 military surveillance devices and targeting devices. Also this year, the Armed Forces of Ukraine will receive 9 samples of armaments and military personal material, including the military transport aircraft of the short takeoff and landing, and N-70 in combat and the training aircraft of the Su-25 types. Also the simulator airplane L-39M and others. In 2015, the military representative office actually examined the quality of production and adopted for the Minister of Ukraine the products of the defense application to the tune exceeding 2.7 billion hryvnia, and separately 2.1 billion hryvnia for other law enforcement bodies. In addition, starting from the beginning of 2015, based on the results of the calculations, the military representative of the Minister of Defense of Ukraine warned, actually avoided the overdraft of the budgetary cost. The frigate of the Navy Force of Ukraine, Getman Sagidashny, with the helicopter Ka-27 PCH on its board, in the period between 17th and 24th of July will participate in the multinational exercise Sea Shield 2015 in the western part of the Black Sea. The objective of this exercise is actually the working out of the actions or interactions when carrying out the set tasks as part of the multinational tactical formations of different vessels according to the NATO standards. In the port of Constanța, Romania, the officers of this frigate will participate in briefings. They are going to coordinate their actions in on the sea together with the foreign colleagues. Now I would like to give the floor to Lieutenant Colonel Dmytro Gutsulyak, who is going to inform me about the latest developments in the ATO zone. Good morning. Can you hear us? We are prepared to listen to you with the latest news. Yeah, the situation in the ATO zone on the territory of Lugansk and Donetsk regions remains to be stably tense. Specifically, those days had the biggest number of shelling on the part of the Kremlin hirelings. Also, the terrorists continue to shell the peaceful populated areas. Unfortunately, we have the casualties. On 15th of July, they intentionally and demonstratively shelled the one of the peaceful populated area of Donbass using 152 millimeter artillery. On the next day, on the 16th of July, the pro-Russian gangs shelled the Avdiivka 20 kilometers to the north from Donetsk, using the weapons which is prohibited by the Minsk agreements. And then they used also the tanks and 152 millimeter artillery. They know only too well that there are only these civilians living there, but this did not stop the bandits. Also, they shelled the Opitne. During 14th and 17th of July, all along the line of contact between the Russian terrorist troops, about 250 times shelled the position of the ATO forces, and they over 110 times violated the Minsk agreements using 102 and 122, 52 and 22 millimeter artillery, 120 millimeter mortar launchers, tanks, and the Grad multi-rocket launcher systems. 30 times they used 152 and 122 artillery, 82 times 120 millimeters mortars, and in 2 cases Grads, and 23 times tanks. Also, they were kind of shower shelling of our position ATO in the nearest Авдіївка, Опитного, Днепровський, Кіровоградський, Луганський, Новоташківський, Станиця, Луганський, and others. Of late, we can observe the enemy snipers, marksmen in Shirokino and Marinka. At the same time, over the Lugansk and Donetsk region, the enemy carried out the aerial reconnaissance. We registered 12 flights of the unmanned UAVs, and we actually 2 of those were eliminated, were down. During those days, there were 3 combat clashes. There were 3 clashes, and also the Ukrainian servicemen twice successfully stopped the attack of the subversive reconnaissance groups. Over the last 22 hours on 16th of July, the Russian gangs about 60 times shelled our troops. More than 40 of those took place between the 6 and 12 p.m. Over this period of time, the gangs 23 times used the weapons which are prohibited by the Minsk agreements. 4 times they used 122 and 122 artillery, about 20 times 120 millimeter mortar launchers, and also tanks. They repeatedly shelled our positions near Orekhovo, Popasyansky district, Opitne, Novotashkivska, Avdiivka. For example, the militants used the fire mines, firing them from 120 millimeter mortar launchers in the late after 10 p.m. Yesterday till this morning from the midnight. The gangs continued to fire the ATO forces, and using also 120 millimeters mortar launchers near the Khimik village of Khimik. You should know that in some directions of the front line, we take care of the schedule replacement or rotation of the subunits of National Guards and the military interior in Ukraine. I would like to emphasize that in case of aggravation situation in the east of Ukraine or from the part of the Russian terroristic troops, the divisions of the National Guards and Ministry of Interior in Ukraine are from full alert to immediately arrive in order to support the army in the ATO zone. The militants actually brought the reserve to the using the large caliber artillery, which is prohibited by Minsk agreements. Repeatedly, the addresses of the Joint Center of Coordination and Control over the ceasefire and the Special Monitoring Mission ASCE, in their addresses to the leaders of the gang formations, they went without any answers. In addition, on 16th of July, Another unwelcome humanitarian convoy arrived from Russia to the territory of Donbass. As soon as they arrive, the combat activity of the gang formations and the number of the shellings on positions of the defenders of Ukraine increases. The management of the ATO forces know about all the movements and dislocations and place of location of the personnel and the military equipment of the enemy. They successfully provide the defense and are ready to boot to any developments of the events. Also, would like to know that today, on the 17th of July 2015, this is the anniversary of tragedy of Boeing 777 aircraft to Malaysia Airlines. The ATO forces offer their sincere condolences to the near and dear of those who were killed in that tragedy. And this is another proof that we have to be very severe in our attitude to the global terrorism. And that's all. Thank you very much. See you again and here again on Tuesday, our next briefing, and 10 on the dot, 10 sharp. Thank you.